Un, dos, y un, dos, tres,
Now there's no doubt about it, Strava is a very useful tool. I shouldn't wonder most of the people watching this video are on Strava and use it, but I have noticed that there are a few people on Twitter that seem to struggle a little bit with comparison and worrying about stats and paces and distance and times, and I just thought I'd share a few little ideas about how I think about Strava. Just 3 simple ideas to see if it might help you along a little bit. Okay, point number 1. If it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. Well, that's not strictly true, is it? Before 2009, when Strava was launched, we all ran and swam and rode our bikes and sometimes did strength and conditioning sessions and things like that. So it did happen. For me personally, I used to pull out the Centre of Cycling Weekly. I used to have a chart. I used to fill out all my distances off my little cat eye handlebar mount, because there was no such thing as, well, no such thing as the internet even then back then. So if you are worried about the fact that you upload stuff to Strava to keep a record of what you're doing, that's cool, I totally get that. It's really nice at the end of the year to get your stats and see how far you've gone and all the rest of it, but perhaps there are just some runs and some workouts that you don't want people to see. Maybe you're not that proud of it, or maybe it's not as fast as you want. We'll come on to that stuff in a minute, but you can set these things to private. There's nothing wrong with setting these things to private and just not letting people know that you've gone and done that particular run. It'll all add up at the end. So just because it might not be publicly viewable on Strava doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It very much happens. As long as it's in your head, as long as it's in your heart and lungs, it did happen. It doesn't need to be on Strava for it to have happened. Okay, number 2. Here's a quote that I'm going to need you to have a think about for a second. I am not who I think I am, and I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. What I mean by that is our perception of ourselves really comes down to how we think others perceive us. If other people are telling us that we're fit and healthy and we're strong and we're well organised and we're really attractive and all the rest of it, that's how we perceive ourselves. We see ourselves through other people's lenses, and that's not particularly healthy. That's not particularly the way we should do things if the lens that you're looking at it through isn't the lens that we should be looking at it through. What I'm trying to say is, be careful whose lens you judge yourself on. If you're training properly, if you know what you're doing and you're training properly, a lot of your runs will be slow. I mean, if you go by the 80-20 rule, 80% of your training will be really, really slow. Only 20% of it will be really, really fast. So by default, most of your runs are going to be really slow and below the average speed of what you think people might perceive you as. Maybe in a race, it's going to be slower than race pace, of course it is. So if the people that you're judging yourselves on know a little bit about sports science, or they're your friends and family or whatever, those are the lenses that you should be judging yourself on. It's through the people that you care about and know, who know what you're doing. So for me, I care about what Bex thinks about me. I care about what my kids think about me. I care about what my club mates think, and everything else. Those people that know who I am and what I do. Anybody that would look at a run like I've done, for example, I've just done, and I'll be brutally honest now because it's the whole point of this video, I've run just over 6k. It's taken me 43 minutes and 43 seconds, which is around about 7:15, 16 pace per kilometre. It's really slow. If that's what your thought is, that that's really slow, that's cool. I couldn't care about what you think about what I've just done, because ultimately it's all part of the journey about losing this weight, being healthier, being less of a drain on the NHS, being less of a drain on the environment, and getting myself back to something that makes me feel fit and healthy. That's my lens. The people that understand that are the people I care about. Somebody who'd look at that and think that's really slow, I really couldn't care less, because you don't know anything about what I'm doing if that's your judgment call on it. So, as JFK said, conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. Admittedly, he was talking about nuclear proliferation at the time, but it's the same thing. If you're comparing yourself to Strava leaderboards and things like that, seeing that people are doing 25 hours, 30 hours a week or something, doesn't make them a pro. Just because they're doing pro hours doesn't mean they're doing pro things. I mean, I was riding 25, 30 hours when I was training for the Grand Tour. Didn't make me a Grand Tour rider in any way, shape or form. Likewise, there are people that are training 8 hours, 10 hours a week that are kicking my backside on a 10-mile time trial. It's got nothing to do with it, and you'll probably find if you do a little bit of digging that those people that have got those sort of hours are probably double uploading from Zwift and their Garmin head unit or their watch or whatever. They're usually not doing exactly what they think they are or what they want you to think they are. They're probably adding in walking the dog and doing the weekly shop around Tesco. So don't judge yourself on what other people do, judge yourself on what's in your heart, and don't worry about what other people think about you unless they know you and unless you care about what they think. Don't take criticism from somebody that you wouldn't ask for advice. Number 3, if you want people to know how good you are, if you really want to prove to yourself how fast you are, how strong you are, then pin a number on. Strava isn't a race, never has been a race. If your runs and your rides and your swims on Strava are all as fast as you can go, then none of your runs on Strava are as fast as you can go. As we said earlier, you need to go slow and you need to go very fast. If you're constantly trying to go as fast as you can, you got it very, very wrong. Fitness testing, racing, those are the only true tests of how fast and strong you are. So don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't look at their paces on Strava and think they're going to kick my backside in a race. Trust me, the people who have got slow average paces on Strava are the ones to watch out for when they pin a number on, because it means they've been training properly. The ones who've been training properly are not worried about Joe Blogs looking at their Strava run for 10k or today's 6k run and looking at it and going, oh, he ran 7:12 per kilometre, that's really slow. He's obviously not very quick. Trust me on this, that's nothing when it comes to race day. It doesn't mean anything at all. It all comes down to how much you put in on that day. Strava's not a race. Pin a number on and prove to yourself and to other people how fast you are on that day at that moment. What goes on Strava is the process that leads up to being as quick and as fast as you can on that day. Nothing more, nothing less. If it all came down to hours put in, then I'd be sharing a stage with Nile Rodgers and Chic. For about 3 years I put in between 3 and 9 hours a day practicing my drums, getting as good as I could be, and that was the only way I could get my foot in the door at a very average level of playing drums. Really been a pro for 20 years, but you know, kind of like the equivalent of cycling pro continental level, you know, nothing special. Proud of what I've achieved, but it's taken me a lot of hours of practice morning to be able to achieve those things. Yet there are other drummers out there who don't really practice at all, or at least seemingly never practice at all. Who knows? There's no Strava for drummers, and if there was I wouldn't look. But there are people out there that it just seems to come so naturally to, and it doesn't bother me. I'm very proud of what I've achieved, and so should you be. So don't worry about Strava. Strava's nothing. It's a way of documenting what you've done throughout a year or in the lead up to pinning a number on, and that's when it counts. It counts when it counts. It doesn't count when you're out running 6 kilometers at 7:12, 7:15, whatever pace per kilometer. This isn't a race. What I've just done is not a race. It's about what I'm doing and the lens that I view that through. So sorry if this has been a slightly less highly produced video than some of mine, but it's an important thing that I thought might share with you guys, because this stuff doesn't really bother me, because when I get home from this run I'll look on Strava and I'll upload it, and I only really look at Strava and see who's been working out and doing a workout at the same time as me, the person that shared this weather, and I'll scroll through the first 10-15 people that have been training at the same time as me and I'll give them kudos. And if I'm honest with you, I won't even look at what the exercise is they've done, whether it's a yoga workout or a Pilates ballistic missile workout at the gym or a swim or a run. Doesn't bother me, doesn't matter how fast they've gone. I don't look at that, I just give them kudos, thumbs up, bit of respect. We shared this weather together, wasn't it lovely? It was a nice day out, and you know what? That's all that matters right now. Don't worry about Strava, because Strava's not really a thing. The people on Strava aren't really people. You're the only person that matters. What you do and the value you put on it and what it brings to you is all that matters. Strava is just a way of you documenting that. And don't you forget it.